What's happening, Andy? Here I am joined today by Jacques Passailaig from GOECO down in North Carolina. How are you, Jacques?
Good, good. Excited.
Great to
Today's
see
my
you.
birthday. I didn't know
Oh,
if you
yes,
knew
it
that.
is.
Yeah,
Happy
yeah.
birthday! First of all, let's start off with that. You look a little old for 29, but not too bad.
What?
Not too bad.
42.
42. All right.
Yeah, people doubt it because I guess the gray hair. I'm like, yes, I'm actually 42.
No,
Thank
I
you.
would
I'm
put you
not
right in.
older.
I'd put you in the low 40s. I would put you in the low 40s. So
uh,
this is great. We just to fill people in, we do a lot of these videos and a lot of interviews. And I got an email from Jacques here asking me, why don't you ever interview some dealers and talk about what's happening in the field right now and how are companies dealing with the pandemic and how are they dealing with, the supply chain issues that we had. So I thought, what a great idea. And why not just jump right in? Let's get a little background. Tell me about GOECO. Who are you guys? How long you been in business? And what do you do down there in North Carolina?
so GoEco was founded in 1976 by a gentleman named Frank Drohan. He got out of the Marine Corps, out of Vietnam, took his GI Bill, and they taught him how to repair typewriters. And so he started a typewriter business. It was really just typewriter repair. And he didn't have anybody to sell the typewriters to, but he was just going around Goldsboro, North Carolina, and soliciting, hey, I can fix your typewriters. Well, that morphed into selling and servicing, supplying typewriters. And then I think I might get this wrong, but like 82 or 83, he was one of the first Canon dealers in North Carolina. And I think we're the oldest continuing Canon dealer in North Carolina that's
Wow.
still in business. Yeah, I think Canon told me that a couple of years ago, and I don't know if that might not be correct, but so they got onto the Canon product early, and I met them in August, or actually in early 2017. I was in sales and sales management at another dealership, and I was just ready to get out. And Frank had been suffering from chemo, cancer, and he'd been going through chemo from Agent Orange he got while he was in Vietnam. So I knew he was looking to get out, and I walked in there one day and said, give me a shot. And fortunately, him and his wife did. But from there, it was me and two technicians. They were really just a small mom and pop that had a wonderful client base, really just in Wayne County, North Carolina, which is about 40 minutes south and east of Raleigh. So Goldsboro, we're not far from Raleigh. Everybody knows Raleigh, North Carolina. So I took over the company, and we've just been building it ever since, one step at a time, trying to do things the right way, trying to change the way we operate, and focus more on what clients need. And I feel like if we focus on our clients' needs first, we'll be taken care of. And so all of our policies that we do create, we say these are client first. Does this benefit the client? If it doesn't benefit the client, we're not going to do it. No matter if it benefits us, because I feel like, there's a lot of ancillary things in our industry that some folks do that I don't think are beneficial, but they make money. So that's what we've been doing the last 4 years. We've grown every year. We're up. Last year was our greatest year, and we're up about 25-30% from last year. So we're
In a pandemic.
Yes.
Look
Through
at
the
you.
pandemic, we pursued and persevered, and I will tell you that the reason we've been successful and we've made it is the quality of people that we have on our team. Our focus has been really the culture of our people and finding the right people. I guess at the beginning, looking for industry people. And sometimes you find good ones. And as we know, sometimes you find someone's that are stuck in the way the industry's run for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
So what I focused on is just let's find the right people, then let's find them a place in our business. And so that's what we've done. And, this year we've had some people doing very good work on some really good projects for our clients that's really changing the way their business operates. So it's really exciting to see that. But when you have serious people committed to fixing people's problems. It's exciting when you're able to give that to the client and it changes how their business runs. And they look at you. Most people hate the copier dealers, right?
Yeah, they do. They don't.
They,
They never like us for some
they
reason.
only call us when they're down. But
Yeah.
when you're able to see like, hey, we're able to change the way the workflow and made
Make
this
your life easier.
person's life easier. Now what took 10 steps now takes her 3. Well, she loves that. So
Yes. Yes.
we've been coming up with very creative solutions for that. And about 2 years ago, we started looking into the managed space of IT and networking and stuff like that. That's not my expertise, but we have a gentleman that we brought on board a couple of years ago, really to focus on copier sales. And he said, hey, by the way, I have 13 years of IT background and running pretty big jobs in Canada. And we've, over the last 2 years, have started that process prior to COVID, which is kind of interesting that we were thinking about.
Lucky timing.
Right. And we didn't roll it out immediately. We spent a lot of time researching different vendors, people we're going to partner with. And, we went to a few BTA meetings. We've looked around, but we wanted to be really intentional with what we're about to roll out, because if we messed up their network,
yeah, you're done.
Not only do we lose that business, we're probably going to lose the copier business.
You're done. Yeah, you don't. I mean, it's challenging, and we see, as I do this, I've been doing this job for a while. It seems to be a pretty common thread with office equipment resellers that are trying to get into managed services. It's not easy. There's a lot of speed bumps in the way, and you got to take your time and do it right. And it takes a while to make your money back. It's not an instant. It's not like copiers. You sell it, you get paid. There's a lot of upfront work and investment that needs to be done before it becomes profitable. So it's challenging.
Well, you can grow that business so fast that you get all the money, but then you can't support it.
Yeah.
And so, fortunately, we do have some people that are patient, which I'm not. I don't fit in that category.
I'm not either.
They're patient. We're going to do this the right way with the right intentions. And so there's some clients that have come to us, said, hey, I want to buy, 15 computers. Can you help us? And at that time we had so much going on. We said, we can't help you right now. And they were like, that's fine. And hey, I'd love to have the business, but then that would just backlog everything else.
Sure. Then everybody slows down, and then you know.
Right. So we've been very fortunate with that on the managed services side. And we've also got into the voice over IP with Shindo as well. And that's been a fantastic partnership. And we've gone in and really changed the way people are using their telephone systems now. So
we talked offline a little bit before that, but tell me about the Canon line. Yeah, I know you've had some experience working with some others. I won't ask you who they were, but you mentioned some things you liked about that. What was it specifically that you thought was making your job easier selling those things?
So I grew up in the business selling Savin Ricoh, KM, and Kyocera, and I competed with the Toshibas and everybody else out there, the Xeroxes, but really never had much exposure. In Eastern North Carolina, Canon didn't have a huge footprint, so didn't run into them a whole lot. When I bought the dealership and got into the product line, I could see I was very, very impressed. It blew me away because I kind of had, Savin as, a really good tier, but right below Konica Minolta. The product I ever sold with KM was always good. And then when I compared the Canon with the Konica Minolta, there's some things KM does a little bit better, but overall the Canon product was just so impressive. And how much money they put into research and development. And we tell clients this, like last year, Canon put $2.9 billion.
Canon is every year they're in, I think it's either the top 3 or the top 5 list globally for most spent on R&D and patents, right?
Yeah.
So that company is patents. It's exactly what you just said. And, even in downtimes, even in this sort of, I won't call it a depression, but this recession that we're in, and with the industry hemorrhaging and suffering because of, everything going on, Canon still spends the money on what's next? Where are we going down the road? And and I've always loved that about them. Even when things got tough, they still dump money into what's next. And I applaud them for that, because a lot of other companies, maybe one or two of them that you mentioned, they pull that back, and it's just a different way of dealing with it. But then where does that leave you? Right now, you've got one of those companies you mentioned, they don't even make equipment anymore. They have to source it from other companies, and they're kind of at the mercy of their partners. And now you look at what Canon's done, and they're so far ahead. They've got this, we were talking, tell me more about the scanning, right? Like that was another thing you mentioned that was just impressive. And I can tell you, I've done actually, when we had our test lab, we did some analysis on Canon scanning, and it was very cool. Right out of the box, that thing, low compression, or strong compression, I should say, because the file sizes were a fraction of everybody else's. And, just all the companies do some things well. Canon does some things well that are, I think, very useful to the end user. And hearing you say that just sort of reinforces that. Now let's maybe switch gears and talk about some things that, maybe some of those OEMs don't want us to talk about, but, we're in the middle of a supply chain issue situation. You're a dealer out there facing that every day, and whether it's your VoIP systems, whether it's your IT, whether it's the hardware that you're selling. What is it like out there right now? How are you managing that? Are you dealing with shortages on parts, on supplies, on hardware? What's it like for you right now?
So the parts and supplies, the consumables, Canon actually makes all that in Virginia. The consumables, the toner. So, or they at least package them in Virginia.
Yep, big plant down there.
We haven't had any issues with that, parts or consumables. So we've been very lucky. I know some manufacturers did things a little bit differently and had some accidents, and things didn't work out so good for them. But Canon's been pretty thoughtful on that end. The hardware, it is hard to get, and there is frustration there. But I will say that, well, I'd love to throw some people under the bus. And that's the easiest thing. We all know what's going on. I think Canon's done a really good job of looking at things in a lot of different angles. I think most of these manufacturers have reconsidered how their supply chain works, where they're getting stuff from. I mean, can you imagine? Everybody's re-looking how they do business.
Yep.
Somebody like Canon and Canon, do you think they're going to let their future of the business, be put in jeopardy by some dock worker in LA or some bureaucrat in Sacramento, who won't let more ships, go? So I think what they're looking at is different ways to get products here, maybe different ports. And I think these manufacturers, some, if not all, are probably thinking, hey, we need to have some type of manufacturing in North America or South America. Yeah. Because, when it's all relied on getting stuff from Asia, well, as you can see, when it's not just getting on a boat and getting over here, there's a lot of that system that we were used to for the last 15, 20 years, that's broken. So, smart business people like Canon, they're going to look at every single aspect. And I'm sure Konica Minolta and Ricoh and Toshiba and all these guys getting the top heads put together and figure out, how do we get the toner more in a regional program where we're not stuck with one site where we're getting the stuff from, and the chips and all the other stuff that goes into that. And, there are some frustrations because it's taken a while to get the products, but we're just telling our clients it might take 2 or 3 months. So that's why we need to start looking at it now.
Well, and let's be clear, this is not a problem unique to Canon. This is something that every one of the manufacturers is dealing with right now. Right. You just happen to be a Canon dealer. Right. But, going forward, how do you deal with this? How do you pay a sales rep when, I know when I sold, you got paid when that thing got plugged in, right? And so, or the next month when they paid. So that's setting you back 2-3 months. How are you dealing with compensation issues? How are you keeping people motivated to sell things that they know the next thing out of their mouth once the customer says yes is, well, it's going to be a few months?
So we started attacking this in really June, July, when we started hearing about it. And I told people, we're going to have to sell more than we did before. Not only are you going to have to sell more, you're going to have to explain to the client why it's not going to be there. We even, we've looked at the used equipment side. So
Yep.
we really didn't get into used equipment in the past, just because there's so many different variables, especially if you're buying it from a wholesaler. Where did it come from?
Yeah.
But we've gotten into refurbished, whatever you want to call it. We purchased. It's been a long day already. We purchased some very low meter product, and we replaced, all the belts, anything rubber in there, updated the firmware, anything that needed to be done. We're putting them back pretty much 99% new. So the toner, the developer, the drum unit, all that stuff's coming out.
You're essentially doing your own remanufacturing process.
Right. So that's been a focus of ours. That's helped us bridge the gap. We've kept in touch with our TSE at Canon and at Muratech. And when, let's say that 55 page per minute color machine isn't going to be here for 3 weeks, but they have a 45. Well, can we go to the client and say, hey, we're going to give you a discount, and also, can you go down or can you go up? So we're getting creative on that. We're getting creative on what they have in stock. Well, let's see what we can sell.
Yeah.
And
what can I do with what you've got on the shelf, right?
Right. And we get a list from them. This is what we primarily have. And I've told them, I said, this is what we need to be showing our clients. And if that's not going to fit a need right now, we need to just hold off or find a different solution for them, maybe on the used route. But we can't sell things that we can't get.
Yeah. Well, there's some great used companies out there. Arcoa, Mars, Ross International. There's definitely places to turn. I know Clover and some of the other toner companies. They actually have Caton, I think, as well, has printer programs for used printers and dust offs. So there is spotty product out there. There are options out there. Does this make you take a step back looking forward? You're a single line dealer, and there's a lot of value to that, right? But I think you're a single line. You may have multiple.
Yeah, we sell Muratech as well.
Okay.
So Canon,
but mostly, your focus is Canon, right? And is
right, 90%. Yeah.
Is there a thought of maybe we need to diversify our portfolio more when you look at a situation like this?
Well, I thought about that, and I said, well, what if we go to, let's say a Sharp or a Xerox? Well, they can't get product either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if we do sign up. And we
Sharp does say they can get it. Sharp says they can get it.
Well,
at least the last interview I had, but you're right. I mean, but my thought is if you do partner with multiple companies, does that make it, more likely that, well, maybe this company doesn't have it, but maybe you got lucky and these guys did have it that day,
right.
But then that's a considerable investment,
It is. And then not only that, you have to train your technicians.
Yeah.
Sharp isn't the same as Canon. Canon isn't the same as GOECO, so I mean, there's a lot of training that needs to be involved, but also then you have to look at the consumables. You're selling a brand new product line. Now you're going to have
more shelf space. Yeah.
Right. And how does that work? And
how is it working with your managed IT and your VoIP systems? Are you having hardware issues, and is it taking a lot of time?
We haven't. We haven't so far. Like I said, that's something we've just tiptoed. We're selecting only current clients to work on those deals with.
Yeah.
People we've had very long-term relationships with that can understand that, we're going to take this on, and but we're going to turn down some business here and there. So that's been a lifesaver, and we're trying to get that up and running more and more, because, what if this does last longer and we can't get copiers to Eastern North Carolina faster? We are going to have to diversify, and even more. My concern about our industry as we go to these managed solutions is that at some point, reps are going to be like, why are we even selling copiers? So I think that should light a fire under all these manufacturers. Like, we might lose a lot of dealers because of this. I've talked to other dealers, and their frustration is they either want to go into water systems or whatever, their next little thing is. One thing that we've done and we've been really good at is we're going to focus and be proactive on what we do and not react as much. So we're putting in plans and it started, a couple of years ago with the managed services, is that this is something we looked at before COVID, because we wanted to have a bigger role in what happened in our client's workspace. And we wanted to be part of that. And I know if I can go to a client and say, hey, I can take you from 3 vendors to 1, you get 1 invoice.
Nice benefit.
Yeah. And you don't have to negotiate with 3 people. You have to negotiate with 1, and then
1 invoice, everything in one place, 1 throat to choke,
That's been our focus. And what other people do, we're kind of looking at, but we're going to the beat of our own drum at this point. We're doing quite well with that. But we're going to continue to focus on things that don't have any that don't have inventory issues, like solutions. Canon has a great product, Uniflow. I know you're aware of that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, very aware, very aware.
Uniflow is a
Great
Chuck,
print management product, and
right,
you're
Chuck
selling
Knight
Canon, it's perfect. It's a perfect
right.
fit.
Chuck Knight at Canon, we're working with him to get some pretty exciting stuff to our current client base that we can look into. That's another avenue. Those aren't sitting on boats in LA's harbor.
That's software, and it's all in the cloud. Very easy.
They're in the cloud, right?
So those opportunities are good. So when you look forward, one of the things, and we're running out of time, but I do want to kind of touch on this. One of the things that all of the OEMs have been trying to push over the last few years, and most of the industry has kind of migrated towards this, is this sort of just-in-time shipping. They were trying to get you guys to save money by reducing warehouse space and maybe getting smaller warehouses, and it worked great, right? When the supply chain was humming,
right.
and things were being drop shipped or shipped directly to customers, that was all great. But is there any thought to dialing things back to 10, 20 years ago when you had a big warehouse and you loaded up and you kept things on the shelf? And, it sucks having inventory because you're carrying that cost, but I bet a lot of dealers would kill for that problem right now.
Yeah. How much money do you throw at it?
Yeah.
It's just to the point where, do you go up and buy a bunch of inventory, and knowing that you're also going to be shorting other dealers?
Yeah.
So, you just have to be respectful, and you have to look for it, and you have to figure out what are we selling the most of, and
do you think you'll increase your shelf space? Do you think you'll start buying in bigger batches?
We have a little bit. I talked with our service manager about that, and I told him, I said, you do what you need to do, but I want to make sure that our clients are taken care of. But, also, let's not go spend $50,000-$70,000 tomorrow. Let's get some inventory in, but let's be respectful of cash flow. Because I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
We all have to continue to pay our salespeople.
Yeah.
And we've gotten pretty creative. You asked earlier, we've gotten pretty creative on that end, on how that works. And, they have to be patient and understand that that's great. I got a sale and I probably won't get paid in 2 or 3 months. I got to go find another one. And they're starting to have that mentality. And it is hard because it's, you're a salesperson, you're excited. You want to get that in and get paid and move on to the next one. But it's made us better. It's made us better because those deals we did 2 or 3 months ago, we're now having to go back because we took good notes, because we were very thorough 2 or 3 months ago. We're not having to remember, where was this deal? What do we need to do again? Is it scan to email? We have all that in place, so we're not running around when the product comes in saying, what were we supposed to do again? So we've, like I said, we've had some really good people doing some really good things and managing this for us. So we're getting to the end here. Hopefully this thing can be resolved pretty quickly. I'm hoping the next 3 to 6 months. I don't know. We're going to still go on the plan that we have, and that's continue to do the managed services, the phone systems. The phone systems haven't been an issue getting those in stock. Crescendo's done an unbelievable job at, I guess, getting inventory beforehand. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're a bit of an anomaly, having such a great year. I know a lot of dealers had decent years last year, and a lot of that was obviously due to loans and things that came through and maybe some cuts that they made. But to have growth like that is just very commendable. So great job to you and your team, and this was great. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and chat with me about this. I know it's a lot going on for you guys, and it's incredible to hear the perseverance and just how you're able to, just how nimble companies like you guys are, where, I mean, your whole system was blown up. And so, you pivot into another direction, you pour your resources in other areas, you sell what you got, right? And you're still here, you're doing better than you did last year. So, bravo to you. Any last shout outs to anybody, any last messages to anyone before we say goodbye?
Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate everybody at Canon and Eurotech doing everything they can to get us the products that we need. I know people are working. I know there's a lot of frustration and emotions get involved. But we, as they continue to come up with new ideas, I think really the next step is, they've looked at their inventory and how they do things. Are they going to bring manufacturing over here? I think that's the most important. I've heard maybe yes, who knows? But I think all these guys need to look at it.
I don't see why they wouldn't. It's clearly
here's the thing, Andy. I can sell a $10,000 copier made in America right now. I can't sell a $7,500 copier that's on a ship.
Yep.
People want to buy, and plus, if they know it's American made, they probably spend more.
They probably would spend a little more. A lot of people would spend a little bit more.
Right.
And so, it is food for thought for a lot of these manufacturers. And, we've got a couple of them we mentioned here, Xerox being one, and HP. They are American companies. And, you would think here's an opportunity. Maybe, maybe we bring a little bit of this closer to home, whether it's here in the US or even just, in our hemisphere, just closer.
Right.
So that,
South America, Mexico,
Canada,
maybe not here in the US, but I mean, there's some perfect opportunities that things can still be brought here, by a train or,
they do toner down in Mexico. They do, obviously Canon's got that toner plant in Virginia. So it's very doable here. But
what I will say this is I've heard a lot of pushback sometimes on this, but that will take time. The Empire State Building took a year to build. I mean, think about that. If we can do that in a year in the 1920s, I mean, you're telling me you couldn't have a production facility in the
1920s, by the way, during a pandemic. So
during a pandemic,
right?
You might want to send a memo to all these manufacturers about it. I think they're thinking about that. I hope they are. And maybe that's a short-term fix, but I just want to thank you for your time. We met a couple of years ago down at the Canon kickoff program in Atlanta. And I followed you. You're doing some good stuff. Love the information, and I do enjoy seeing what other people are doing. And when you see other dealerships, whether they're Canon or not, being successful, it's uplifting. It gives us all, hey, that's motivation. We can do it too. So keep up the good work. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And you too. And thanks so much for being on the show today. And we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye, Jacques.